Scott with Torch Window Cleaning, and today we are going to clean inside commercial glass. So a lot different than residential. We have route work that's cleaned consistently on a recurring basis, so bi-weekly or monthly. And then you have commercial office glass that gets cleaned every once a year or sometimes every 5 years. So with that being said, we're cleaning our route work that gets cleaned monthly. And so again, it's just a standard mop and squeegee. Wet the whole window. The big thing, anytime you're cleaning any side, any office glass or any glass in general, when you squeegee, when you first begin, make sure you're using your mop to catch all the water that's dropping. Now it's okay if you have that water splat there, but what's gonna happen is it's gonna splash, especially in like a commercial office space. When this water is dripping down, it could drip down off the sill and then bounce off the sill and hit people's desk, papers, etc. You don't want that. So how to combat that is wetting that whole window and keeping that mop underneath as that water is dripping, so that that mop underneath is catching all of your dripping water, so it's not dripping off the sills and splashing everything in the mother. After that, you can just take your squeegee and then just kind of squeegee off that bottom sill right there. And anytime you're taking your squeegee back to your bucket on the belt, if you were to just hold it like this after you get done cleaning a window, it's not really that wet right now, but oftentimes you'll start seeing dripping like that. Go ahead and show them that, Ryan. So if you were to just do this and go ahead and throw it back in your bucket, you're gonna fling water again. Again, we don't wanna fling water on people's desks, carpet, furniture. So how to combat that is after you're done squeegeeing the window, just go ahead and take that, hold it with your mop there and lead it right to there and put it right back in there. Another way of doing that is after you squeegee your window, if you don't have your mop, you could just take your wet towel, and I always just put it against my chest here and give it a quick wiping and then put it back in there. It's pretty much drip free. Put it in there. And then the final and most important part is wiping up your bottom frame right here. So this is your frame of the actual window. And then wiping up the sill. So this is a large sill. You're often gonna see the frame of a window and some type of sill. We always wipe the frames and we always wipe the sills. You never wanna leave drip marks or water marks left behind. And then obviously, you always wanna double check the window. So do I leave any streaks? A lot of times you'll take your detail towel and go ahead and just give a quick wipe into the edges if needed. But when you're cleaning commercial glass, you very rarely have to detail because you don't get the edges and corners as wet as you would on like a first time clean. So let's see, anything else? So making sure you just clean up after yourself, and then obviously no debris left behind on the sills, no drip marks left on the sills or the frames, very important, and then no dirt and or debris left behind on the actual floor itself. Going to be cleaning an outside commercial window. When we're cleaning exterior windows, exterior commercial windows, I want you to come here real quick. Check out all this dirt along the bottom frame of the window. And then also, look at these side frames right here. These side frames aren't too bad, but when you get to the top, you get a lot of dirt and debris. Because when we're cleaning it, the end of it, there should be no dirt along that frame, and there should be no dirt along here, so we'll wipe them down. But the very first step I do is just go ahead and start mopping the window. This is a monthly account, so you don't have to scrub very hard, and you want to stay away from the edges as much as possible as far as like cleaning glass. It'll stop you from doing less detailing. But for the sake of when you're starting out new, you want to kind of squeegee that whole window and get it all wet. Go ahead and take your mop and just give a quick wiping along the top, and then along there if you have dirt. This one especially did have dirt. And then keep that window wet. So we already mopped the top frame. If you notice that we're in direct sunlight right now, so anytime you're cleaning in direct sunlight, you have to keep that window as wet as possible before you squeegee it. If it starts drying, it's gonna have streaks on it and it's gonna look like crap. So I already have to re-wet this window, but there's a couple of different ways to do that. So if you have your bucket of water right next to you, get it nice and filthy wet. Since we're outside, the drips don't matter. as far as like getting on the floor. So you can, that's one way to do it, especially if when you're in direct sunlight. Another way to do it is wetting that whole window and kind of squeegeeing and mopping as you go. That way, there's no way for that window to dry. You wet it, you squeegee it. This takes practice. I don't expect you to do this on the second week of squeegeeing a window, but over time, you want to get used to this because that's the ultimate way to get a streak-free window. So, take your squeegee, go ahead and wipe away the excess water. We're going to go ahead and wipe that with a dirty towel. And this already started to dry up here, so I'm just going to go ahead and re-wet it real quick. Literally just takes 2 seconds. Take your mop, and then you can take your wet towel and then just wipe it clean real quick. Again, takes 2 seconds and it makes the window look 10 times better. So we wipe that top frame. These side frames are good. They don't need to be wiped, but you always examine it. If they do need to be wiped, wipe them. And it's going to depend on how often the windows get cleaned. Are you next to a road? It depends on several different factors. But go ahead and wipe up your bottom frame right here. Always, always, always. This part and this part too. Don't forget about this part because you're going to have drip marks along that part as well. And then lastly, do a detail if you have to. If you don't detail it and you put an excess amount of water on the edges, it's going to drip down and you're going to have drip marks and it's going to look like a 2-year-old cleaned your window. So don't let that happen. You don't have to worry about so much about dirt and debris, but if you moved furniture to get to this window, then move furniture back. Scott from Torch Window Cleaning. We're continuing to clean exterior commercial glass. So oftentimes what you find on commercial glass is decals on the windows. So this specific account has numbers, right? And so what you want to make sure you do after you, so we're going to go ahead and mop and squeegee the window, but what you want to do is you want to make sure you detail all decals. Detail all decals. Say that 5 times fast. And the reason for that is if you don't, I'm going to try to maybe hopefully pull an example here, but if you don't detail the decals, then you're going to get drip marks coming down from those stickers. So, kind of come up here closely, Ryan, and you can see when you look up underneath the numbers there, you got a little bit of water. It's not too much excess, but it's just in proper condition. They're not proper condition. It's in, what word am I looking for? Industry standard to just go ahead and wipe them. Otherwise, it's going to drip down. Now, going off into what we're doing is, if you notice, this window, or this door specifically, is covered with salt. So just take your wet towel, give it a quick wipe, and it takes 2 darn seconds. And again, not along the top because usually you don't have to, but it's just always something to pay attention to when you're doing commercial glass. And then detail around the edges if you need to. Anytime you're detailing, you always, always, always use the most driest part of the towel. I'm starting to get a little wet here, so over time, this detail towel now becomes my wet towel, and then I take a new detail towel and then recycle it back into there. Thanks for watching. We are going to clean an exterior commercial door. So, especially during the winter time, you get a lot, look at all the salt buildup right on the ground. So after we clean the windows, we're not going to leave it like that. So you'll see the aftermath after we clean it. So this is route work, meaning that we clean it at least bi-weekly or monthly. The specific account gets cleaned is bi-weekly. So generally speaking, you're not going to have, all these frames are pretty clean, but anytime you're cleaning commercial glass, the frames are expected to be clean. So this specific one, generally when you're doing route work, you don't have to scrub. You certainly don't have to steel wool, and you don't have to scrub as much as you think you would. Obviously, if you have certain things on it, like tape of any sort, then you want to scrape it off and make it look good. But what I do with this salt here, you just take your little mop along the bottom, and then your wet towel. Again, you're not detailing the whole frame of the door, but you're making it look good, like you actually came here and cleaned the window. We clean windows, it's not just the glass, it's the rest of it. So again, I don't expect you to go up and clean every single piece of frame and detail the frame. Obviously you want to make sure the glass is cleaned, and then go ahead and look at the bottom of that door. You don't see that salt anymore. That salt is all on the inside, so we'll go ahead and clean that. But again, it's just the importance of actually wiping your frame, and especially indoors and especially during the winter time, but you also see it in the summertime, is making sure you clean that bottom frame, because that's what's going to be the dirtiest, because it's by the floor and dirt's kicking towards the bottom windows and doors. Thanks for tuning in. It's rolling. I forgot to add one thing. When you're cleaning, especially route work windows or just doors in general, especially in route work, we don't steel wool windows because they're cleaned so often, either bi-weekly, monthly, or bi-monthly, and therefore you don't need to steel wool. But one thing you do need to pay attention to, that when you're cleaning, especially the insides of doors, is little kids and people in general put their fingers on the doors, and that wouldn't come off with a standard mop and squeegee. So what you have to do is just take a quick steel wool to the door, and or quick steel wool to where you see the fingerprints. What I call the batter's box is, like, 2 feet above the handlebar, 2 feet below the handlebar, right in the strike zone. That's where people are going to plant their hands every single time. So it's just something to pay attention to. Not steel wooling the windows, with the exception of tape. Obviously, remove tape. People often put tape on things, and then people are going to splatter, especially kids, whack their hands right along the windows, and the only way to take it off is just a quick steel wool. It takes literally a millisecond, a microsecond, a nanosecond. It's quick. So it's just one thing to consider also when you're cleaning commercial windows. Over and out. It's going live. I'm Scott from Torch Window Cleaning. We are going to clean an exterior commercial door. So, especially during the winter time, you get a lot, look at all the salt buildup right on the ground. So after we clean the windows, we're not gonna leave it like that. So you'll see the aftermath after we clean it. So this is route work, meaning that we clean it at least bi-weekly or monthly. The specific account gets cleaned is bi-weekly. So generally speaking, you're not gonna have, all these frames are pretty clean, but anytime you're cleaning commercial glass, the frames are expected to be clean. So this specific one, generally when you're doing route work, you don't have to scrub. You certainly don't have to steel wool, and you don't have to scrub as much as you think you would. Obviously, if you have certain things on it, like tape of any sort, then you want to scrape it off and make it look good. But what I do with this salt here, you just take your little mop along the bottom, and then your wet towel. Again, you're not detailing the whole frame of the door, but you're making it look good, like you actually came here and cleaned the window. We clean windows, it's not just the glass, it's the rest of it. So again, I don't expect you to go up and clean every single piece of frame and detail the frame. Obviously you want to make sure the glass is cleaned, and then go ahead and look at the bottom of that door. You don't see that salt anymore. That salt is all on the inside, so we'll go ahead and clean that. But again, it's just the importance of actually wiping your frame, and especially indoors and especially during the winter time, but you also see it in the summertime, is making sure you clean that bottom frame, because that's what's going to be the dirtiest, because it's by the floor and dirt's kicking towards the bottom windows and doors. Thanks for tuning in.